Hello and welcome to Qsports, and this is a special edition. My name is Mamadou Kajaga. We're talking about Gambia post-AFCON. The Gambia went into the Africa Cup of Nations as the lowest ranked team, but surprised everyone by reaching the quarterfinals of the competition until they were knocked out by the host Cameroon. The performance has been great, and they've got lots of praises from almost across every supporter from the Gambia who supports Gambian football because of their performance. Joining me in the studio are sports journalist Aliou Cisse and Ansumana Esonyasi. Aliou, first, your reflection of the Gambia's performance in the Africa Cup of Nations.
Thank you very much, Gajaga. Like you said, it's always good to be here to talk about the performance of our boys in the AFCON tournament, even though we are out. But I think the performance for me is just incredible. It is something that, you hardly see for a team that is going for the first time, facing against giants that have been in the tournament for many years before you join them. But for me, I think the performance for me is just incredible, and a learning curve for the country, a big opportunity for our players, who many of whom are playing in lower leagues in the Scandinavian and other countries and other continents. But I think for me it was a good outing for the country as a footballing nation.
Well, so you've always been optimistic prior to the AFCON that if we get there, instead of just going there to participate, we are going to compete. And here we are. We competed up to the quarterfinals.
Thank you, Gajaga. I mean, you're right. I've always believed that, and I think I've been saying this for a couple of years now. If you've been following Gambian football, you realize that of recent, in the past 3-4 years, you can feel the change. That we have a new crop of players in the national team, and we also have seen the surge in Gambian players plying their trade in Europe, especially in leagues like the Serie A, which is of course one of the best leagues in world football. So I think for me, our AFCON outing, I mean, no surprises there. This is what I wanted, it's what I expected, and I have to say it's been a memorable one for all of us. We have overachieved because no one actually expected that Gambia would make it out of the group stages, talk less of reaching the quarterfinals. I mean, being ranked as one of the top 8 teams in Africa, going into the tournament as underdogs, as the lowest ranked team, it's massive.
Well, Ali, lots of factors played into Gambia's success. We'll talk about the Gambia Football Federation. They're the custodians of football, and the Gambia government for mobilizing the resources, and as well as the media and the fans as well. These are crucial factors when it comes to the development of any footballing nation. Now that we've got into the Africa Cup of Nations, how do we keep on this momentum? How do we maintain this? Remember, in March we were playing against Chad in a 2-legged tie, where we will play in the preliminaries of the Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers for the 2023 edition in Ivory Coast.
Yes, thank you very much. Quite relevant question that everybody should be asking. What next after this brilliant performance by our boys in Cameroon? Now, we've seen so much political commitment from the government, pumping in almost $90 million towards the team's participation in the tournament. For me, now we should start looking at how we continue, start preparing for the next AFCON in Cote d'Ivoire, because it wouldn't tell well. You go for the first time, you make a name for yourself, and then come next year, Gambia is not at the AFCON. For me, I'm not looking forward to that. And like you said, I mean, hopes are so high that our football is now coming back to where it was, and all that we need now is to have government really pumping in a lot of resources to football. Like I always say, football is no more just a leisure. Football is business. So in as much as you want your team to go out there and make you proud, we should be willing to to invest more resources into football. And I would say not just football, but I think every sport need that investment in terms of the infrastructure. I mean, it's still lacking. This is a country that has only one stadium built in the early 80s, and if you look at the current state of the stadium, it's not something that we should really be proud of. And I think it's high time the government start investing more millions into sports, like we have seen in neighboring Senegal. They're investing a lot of money into sports, and that's why any continental competition that you hear around, I mean, Senegal is always represented, and I think it's important that we start moving forward and emulating other countries to make sure that we are able to be at par with them.
I think still coming back to the business aspect of the game, that football is no longer a leisure. It's not like you go to play football just to have fun or to keep fit. is a business. Football is an industry that pays millions of dollars I'm talking about. Yes, let's see the Gambia's performance in the Africa Cup of Nations, some of the players who perform outstandingly. One name would come to light, of course, Musa Barrow. Yeah, this was an opportunity for him to play better, and he has really shown his worth. He might even be tempted to leave Bologna for other bigger clubs, either in Italy or England or somewhere. So football really pays SO. I think I really want you to delve into this, that, you know, government and all the stakeholders who should invest in the game, especially sponsors, they should invest knowing that football has a huge return when it comes to the economical aspect of it.
I think you're very right. I mean, you look at football and how it's contributing to the economy of, I would say, countries all over the world. I mean, it's massive, and this is, for me, I think one industry that can help us develop as a country. I mean, you look at all the players playing in the national team now. I mean, these are people who are in charge of, I mean, countless numbers of people. I mean, they have families that they take care of. They have communities to take care of. Most of our players are involved in so many philanthropic, activities, and they will not be able to do all of these things if they do not have the financial muscle to be able to do so. So to be able to create conditions like that, there has to be, I agree with Aliu, there has to be the right investment. I mean, the facilities have to be there. And regarding, I mean, the financial aspect of it, you see, it's one thing to want to be seen to be a part of, let's say, a moment like this. In Gambia now, almost every other business establishment want to be associated with the national team. But what if we have all of these business establishments pumping in their money, supporting, being there, and not just for publicity's sake? I mean, come next 4 or 5 years, Gambian football would be at a different level. And you can see even prior to the tournament how, I mean, we have struggled as a country to raise funds to be able to support the team's campaign in Cameroon. That should not have been the case. And I think it's about time that, I mean, companies, even individuals who could come forward and start supporting the national team.
I think for me it's important. I think that's why we even have the sports levy. I mean, for me, I mean, it's high time we start getting reports as to how much has been raised as far as the sports levy on GSM operators is concerned. Transparency is very important. I'm sure millions must have been raised from this sports levy. And the purpose of this sports levy is to ensure that, sports is developed, our athletes are well motivated. Because at the end of the day, if our athletes are not motivated, it tends to discourage them. We had many good talents in this country, but because of the lack of motivation, most of them tend to give up and go into something else. And like you said, it's important that, moving forward, I mean, we don't just come into it for the sake of the publicity, but we should start investing more and then investing in the right place to ensure that these young talents, these raw talents in our communities are groomed to be professional footballers.
And you know what, Gaj, I mean, Aliu mentioned motivating the players and talents. You see, we've had moments like this in the past. You remember, I mean, the last Zone 2 that Gambia played, we went all the way to the finals during the Sefo Soli, the Mustafa Jaju, Tobago era. And then we had the same thing in 2005, in 2009. But this, for me, has been the best moment in our footballing history. And to be able to consolidate on our recent gains in football, there has to be proper investment. The facilities have to be in place, and we have to be there. It would be sad, really, that if we were to go back, like we would always say, back to the drawing board. We don't want to go back to the drawing board. We want to move forward. We want to use this as a springboard to move on and, better our football. Honestly speaking, like the coach said, we want to be regulars in AFCON, and the only way we can do that is by ensuring that the structure is in place.
Talking about that structure, Aliu, still, one thing is important in the game of football, in any other sports, that is building the technical capacity of the people who run the sports. Yeah, the administrators. But one hugely important part of the game, the developmental aspect, is the technical capacity of the coaches. Yes, fine, Tom Sanford did a fantastic job. Many doubted him. I was one of his fierce critics when it comes to his tactical formation, even in the AFCON. When he played his first game, I talked about him being so defensive. And Tom has really raised his level of coaching. If we happen to lose him to bigger nations, what are we going to do in terms of getting a replacement for him and all of that? Because we are going to face a situation where Tom would ask for more, because he has elevated Gambian football to a higher level.
Exactly. For me, I mean, if there is one winner in this tournament, it's Coach Thompson Fate.
Yeah.
The guy has really, you know, sell himself to the world.
Yeah.
I mean, taking the Gambia for the first time to the AFCON and going this far. I mean, don't be surprised, you know, he might start getting bigger offers from countries that are willing to spend millions on him just to have him. So I think for me, like you said, it's important. But I mean, we still have some local coaches in this country who I believe can still handle the team. The case of Senegal, their coach is Aliou Cissé, you know, a former international. He is doing wonderful with the team since he took charge of the team as a coach. You know, he's taking it to the World Cup, to the regularly, you know, participate in the AFCON tournament. But I'm not for saying Thompson Fate, you know, trying to, you know, move on to another country, because we already have like 5 years contract with the Gambia. So if he attempts to terminate that contract, that might lead to some implication, which for me, I think he wouldn't even think of that at the moment. I mean, the hype is there. I mean, he loves working.
And I think he still loves the Gambia.
I hope he stays anyway.
Yeah, exactly. I hope he stays, and then, but then that will require him being so much motivated. I mean, we don't know what that contract entails. I mean, most of this is not made public, but then it would have been good to know what exactly is entailed in that agreement that they signed with the coach. But then, like you said, moving forward, I mean, for now, the focus will be on the upcoming game against Chad in March. I mean, we should really start preparing. Honestly, as soon as the boys returns back home, we should start preparing for the next game in March.
And talking about, I mean, building the capacities of a technical team around Tom, I think it's also important, Ali, that we have former national team players who have, I mean, their coaching line since.
Exactly.
The likes of Idrissa Sonko. I mean, these are people we have to, I think the GFF have to find a way of, I mean, bringing them home to come and serve in the national team as well. I think with them in the team, it will help Tom a lot as well, because these are people who've played in the national team. They understand Gambian football as well.
Yeah, for me, in as much as the federation should bring them on board, I mean, they should also avail themselves, right? Yeah. I mean, sometimes...
I think it's a two-way thing.
Exactly. So sometimes you don't just have to wait to coach the national team, prepare for a game. You can even come and coach a domestic league club.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, all is possible. Yeah. So for me, it's not just about sitting there and then waiting for the federation to reach out to you. You can also, you know, avail yourself and say, you know what, I want to serve my country. Yeah. But then...
And there are different roles. You can be even advisors to the team.
Exactly.
You can be one
exactly. For example, if you look at the Senegalese team, look when they're going to AFCON, you see the likes of Elas Diouf. They are all part of the delegation around
Khalilou
the team.
Fadiga.
Exactly. So for me, like you said, it's important to have some of them come back home, even not just as coaches, but you know, they can be as advisors to the team and the federation.
True. Football is a very expensive sport. You've earlier on mentioned the 90 million. Not only that, in fact, so much money went into this AFCON. Yeah. Maybe after when the reports came out or comes out later, you would see that, you know, maybe in the excess of 200 million or 300 million dollars have been spent on this AFCON. Yeah. Especially when you bring in the players' bonuses and all of that. Yeah. It may even exceed that.
Remember the other ones as well.
Yes, exactly.
For winning matches.
So the chartered flights for the first time
I was in fact going to come to that. When it comes to playing, the boys have already been motivated. Previously, it used to be Gambia. Even if they are traveling to Togo to go and play Togo, it will take them 2 days to get there. You know, what's normally a 6 hours flight, it takes you like 2 days to get to that country. So you are tired, and then you arrive, you have not even recovered very well, you don't even have a good rest, and you get onto the pitch. Yeah. Sometimes you play because of that factor, you get beaten, and then you lost your points. Yeah. So now that we've got into this issue of chartered flights and all of that, yes, that's the competition, but sometimes even during our qualifiers, there was a period where a chartered flight was hired for the team to go and play. These are motivating factors. How would it help? And it has to continue.
Yeah. Look, like I said, we have to work on consolidating these gains we've made. It's not going to be easy. Football, we all know, is expensive. But to be able to maintain this standard, we have to be prepared to invest. In fact, even more than we've done already. It's the only way out. I mean, it really, like I said, I would be really very, very sad if we have to take at least a step backwards, given what we've achieved recently. We have to maintain this level. We have to consolidate whatever we've achieved, and the only way to do that, there has to be investment.
Yeah, and for me, I mean, that investment, like you said earlier on, I mean, prior to the tournament, you know, we had some challenges in terms of raising the required funds for the team, and I think moving forward, I mean, whichever committee is set up to look at the preparation or the team's participants will always consider the fact that this is a national thing, and this will really open up their doors to all the private sector. I mean, for example, you cannot just say we are dealing with Ansumani Eso Nyasi. Perhaps Alu Gajaga is there, he wants to support. But if you just restrict to Eso, then that's an issue. And I think this is something that the committee should really learn from moving forward, going forward, to ensure that, the next time we are going, open it up, and then, provide an opportunity for everybody who wants to support to come in and support. But once it is restricted, then, there's always a challenge.
I think that's a very salient point, you've raised there. I mean, it's not only about opening up to, anyone who is willing to support, but also, I think it would be good to have a competitions committee in place that would comprise of, stakeholders from, different institutions, who are of course within the footballing family and government as well. And we can have this committee responsible for facilitating, raising of funding for the team, and even, to help facilitate their travels and all of that. I think it will make things easier. In the long run, I think they should look into as well.
Well, 90% of these players, if not more, started out their football in the Gambia. They played in the streets. We watched them play in Nawetan. We watched them play in the 4th division. And that 4th division is where these players were seen by scouts. Some of them, yes, of course, do traveled, and some of them even, there are few who went through the Mediterranean Sea, went through the back way and all of those things. But virtually 90+% of the players started their football in the Gambia. Recently, we've seen a huge improvement in terms of the quality of our league, especially the night games.
Exactly.
How will this help the future of Gambian football? Because you would have scouts coming in the Gambia watching the league rather than unless and until the Gambian players go to those clubs and, prove to them that I'm a good player.
Exactly. That's why I said, for me, this is all a win for the country. Like you said, so many agents will now have an interest in the Gambia by traveling to Banjul to watch some of these leagues, to scout some of these players. And then the good thing about, you mentioned about the league, how the league has improved now because of the night matches. We've seen even the turnout has really improved, in the last season. People coming out in their numbers to watch the league. So it is really important. That coaches also start doing their work right, because you can never tell who is on the stands, watching, or perhaps is a scout, or agent in the country looking for players. So for me, this thing has really opened up, opportunities for our footballers who intends to apply their trade as professional in the near future.
Very interesting. Going forward, still, Eso Nyasi, the Gambia has really been tested and has passed the test. When we get into the qualifiers, this time we are playing against the lowest ranked teams. That is Chad, is one of them. It's a big shame, so many questions have been asked. How can we go up to the AFCON quarterfinals? And then and then you're pitted against the lowest ranked sides in the preliminaries. But the understanding is that that is before the competition. That's where our ranking is, and now it's understood that we have to go through that. But even after this competition, I think our ranking will improve. We may be like the biggest achievers when it comes to going up there in terms of the rankings. How do we get that consistency? Because sometime in 2013, sometime in 2008, we were ranked almost 69th in the world, and now our ranking is 150th.
Well, I look forward to the February rankings. I think, all of us are expecting that we are going to really improve a lot on the ranking. But again, to maintain that consistency, I think what we should do is to ensure that we qualify again, but do it outstandingly. And when we get to the tournament again, perform. In fact,
international friendly matches, because there was a time we played as well.
I think we used to have problems with international friendly games in the past, but I think with what we've achieved recently, really, I think what the federation should do now is to ensure that come every international calendar, Gambia gets to play.
No, for me, I don't think, moving forward now, Gambia is going to have that challenges because, there were many countries who were looking low on the country as, as minors and all whatnot. But now with this performance now, they will really respect the country. This is a team that we can play as far as test matches are concerned. So for me, I don't think, we are going to have that challenges now.
Yeah, but we would need these test games, and also to like I said, when we play in the qualifiers, I mean, give it our all. The performance we've shown in Cameroon, if we're able to replicate that in the qualifiers, we're not having any trouble.
And looking at also the number of players that we have outside. Remember, some players turned the invitation of the coach down. You know, he went and meet some players to be part of the team, but they decided, you know what, I want to concentrate on my club. And with his performance, do you think those players would be convinced to be part of the team now? Some of the good players, of course. And there are so many Gambian players who are hidden who would want to come out.
Well, I don't think they have any choice now to say no. I mean, having seen what has transpired in Cameroon, I mean, the only thing is to be part of it. At the end of the day, I mean, this is about your country. It's about national team. It's not about an individual. This was a collective work by like I said earlier on, by the players, the fans, the journalists, I mean, the government and everybody. So for me, there is no better things than to be asked to go and represent your country at such a tournament. For me, this is something that was historic. For example, the likes of Pamudu Jany. I mean, this might perhaps be his last AFCON, and then to be part of the team that took the Gambia to the first AFCON tournament, and given this respectable performance, it will be something that will go down in history. As yes, I was part of the team that represented Gambia in Cameroon. So for me, it's a big thing for this squad.
I think if there's anyone who has the most difficult job now, it's Tom, because he's going to have the situation where, I mean, I think it's a healthy situation anyway, where you're going to have to find it really very difficult when it comes to selection, because I'm sure there, like I said, there's so many hidden players out there who are.
Because if I look at one player who was missing in this AFCON because of injury, Hamza Barry, Abdoulaye Sanyang,
you look at
Bambalai. Oh,
these are all
players. Exciting players, exciting players to watch.
I think he's going to find it difficult, but for me, it's a healthy situation. It's what I want to see. A situation where the coach, would have a pool, of exciting Gambian players. I mean, all doing well. And really, I think, given our, successful campaign, I call it successful because really it's a success for us, given our recent, given our past in football. But I look forward to most of the players who were in the team in Cameroon, playing in bigger clubs after this.
Well, that's going to be very interesting. We are going to end with this. Yes, it's Gambia exclusive, but now we've reached the semi-final stage of the competition. Aliu, of course, it's neighbor Senegal who are going to play against Burkina Faso. And then we have regulars, Cameroon and Egypt. Egypt, seven-time winners, record holders, and as well as Cameroon, who come in.
I think for me, that's a final. Cameroon, Egypt. I can wait to watch that.
I think it's like the Gambia-Cameroon game.
Yeah. Egypt, Cameroon, man. That's a final already.
Well, let me ask you, Ali, who is your money on? Egypt, Cameroon?
I'm on Egypt.
Egypt?
Yes.
I hardly agree with Ali when I do this stuff. I'm with Egypt as well.
Oh, you're with Egypt?
Not because Cameroon won Ghana.
It's going to look very interesting. How about Senegal? We saw their explosive performance against the team.
I mean, yesterday,
yesterday
against
Equatorial
Guinea. Ismail Assar and, coming
I
on
really
to make
hope
that
Senegal
change.
makes it to the final.
Yeah.
I hope so.
I'm rooting for Senegal.
I wish them really
Senegal,
all the best of luck.
With the quality of players that they have at this moment, I mean, yes, Senegal might beat.
Well, Ismail Assar being injured, coming, on in the team, and then having that fantastic performance, Sadio Mane as well. So he's been brilliant. Well, guys, on that note, we say thank you very much, and thank you for watching this broadcast. Until we come your way, keep on sporting. Bye for now.